hello, hello. Hello, Women Who Lead with Heart. It's me, Josie, coming back for my Sunday Night Lives. I haven't done these in a long time, but I think it's time to come back and stir up this community with some spot trainings, some inspired thoughts that I have through my work, moving through the world, meeting with clients, and hopefully to help you up level your skills. Tonight, it is all about holding back. Do you think that you hold back? Do you hold back from making a big, bold statement? Do you hold back from raising your hand in meetings? Do you hold back for really going for what you want? Do you hold back and watch and wait to see if everything is safe before you speak up? This is sort of the general topic that I want to talk about today. About, first of all, do you notice yourself holding back? And secondly, do you know why? Holding back in and of itself is not a problem. If you are not interested in being more fully engaged in whatever we're discussing, whether it's work drama or a career progression, if it's not really what you want, no one is here to say that you need to be different. I don't think you have to go for it or be like a super hyper career person or always be wanting to advance if that's not what you want. What we're talking about tonight is what if there's something that is a pain point in your life and you know that you're holding back from really making a bold action or taking some steps towards what you really want, then it's a problem. So that's what I want to do a little training about today. I think there are two reasons why we hold back. I'm going to explain them, and they really might just be one reason. And then once you understand that reason, I'm going to give you some tactical tips for how you might shake loose of that tendency, how you might start behaving in a different way that helps you break through the resistance that you have so that you can live a more fulfilled, on purpose, value-led life at work, at home, in your personal relationships, in your work relationships, in your career, so that you can feel more fulfilled. Because when we're holding ourselves back, if you think about it, we're not really expressing exactly what we want out of life. We're accepting something lesser than. We're keeping our sights small. We're looking at a lower horizon. And really, if you're a woman who leads with heart, you want more than just that. All right. So I want to talk first about why we hold back. And I said that there are probably two reasons why. They might just funnel into one. Are you ready? So I think the two reasons why we hold back is one, we've just developed an identity, sort of an operating system that has been maybe heavily socialized from when we were little, that we don't go first, that we don't ask for much, that we don't require a lot, that we're not high maintenance, that we're somebody that is more in the second team that ministers to other people's needs. We might see ourselves as a helper or somebody who is an accommodator, somebody who helps other people get what they want. And we've really settled into a self-concept that believes that that's who we are and how we roll. This also can dive into people pleasing, being passive, and not wanting to create confrontation or disharmony. So it is born of our desire to choose safety over truth, choosing being recessive over being bold because we feel like our role, our identity is something that is more in the background or in that role identity of being a helper, a pleaser, an associate, the person who makes things easy, that goes along to get along. And so that could be the reason why we hold back. We don't stir the pot. We're not agitators. We don't have that belief about ourselves. Okay, that's one. The second reason we might hold back is just fear. There's something that we're afraid of. And so let's see if this resonates for you. It could be like you're afraid, you hold back because you're afraid of messing up. You're afraid of if you really make a big overture, you might fail. Or you're afraid that if you really go for it, you might disappoint other people. Or you might um, spark a confrontation or make something challenging or difficult for somebody else. You might hold back for fear of humiliation. Like, what if you're wrong? Or what if somebody else has done it before? Or what if you blow it? Or what if you fall on your face? Or what if you expose a weakness? Or what if you um, don't look smart or competent or on top of things or expert? That could be a reason why we would hold back. And overall, I think it's just a fear of exposure or being vulnerable. We might hold back because essentially we don't want to be seen, because being seen feels risky. We kind of have like a limbic brain system that still tells us to be afraid of going first, of being out front, of leaving the cave where we are prone to saber-toothed tigers coming and attacking us and eating us. There's still a part of our brain that worries for our safety and tells us that being exposed, being out there, being out front, being vulnerable is scary and that we should avoid it at all costs. So there might be something there for us that, or we've learned it, right? Like maybe you were bold at one point in your life and you got chastised for it. You got criticized for it. You were told that you were too loud or too self-centered or not thoughtful enough of other people and that you should be different. And that might have been a real traumatic experience for you that had you kind of fold in and decide that's not safe. Or maybe you had an experience at work where you really made a big play and something didn't go the way you wanted, and it was so painful that now you don't want to go and expose yourself for fear that that could happen again. So, what I've just articulated for us are the two ways we might be holding ourselves and why. This one over here was that we've developed an identity as somebody who doesn't go first and is more recessive and more of a helper and more on the sidelines and maybe a people pleaser or an accommodator or somebody who goes along to get along and helps everybody else. That's one side why we might hold back. This one over here is that we're just afraid. We've had an experience personally or just something that we hold in our traumatic brain cells about being vulnerable and being human that has us wanting to be safe and not risk failure, risk exposure, risk humiliation, risk hostility or confrontation, risk pain. So, if you're tracking, which one do you think is yours? If you feel like you are holding back in some way, that you're not really chasing after your dreams with wild abandon, what is it that you think is having you hold yourself back? That's the first question. And then, if you're able to sort of diagnose that, here's some tips for how you can break free from that experience. You ready? First, it's an inside job. The very first thing I want you to take on board and that I train all of my clients to do is to find safety within, to create your own superstructure of internal validation, internal sense of safety, internal sense of worthiness, so that no matter what happens externally, you know you're okay. You know you've got you. You know no matter what, you're not going to die a million deaths for being exposed. You know that while it feels risky, you know that I've got me and I'm going to be okay. That's number one, is finding safety within. Hey, Joel. I love it when people show up live and give me some comments. Thank you. You think I'm hitting it on the head. I appreciate that. So, how do we create that safety within? How do we bolster our own confidence so that we feel like we can take risks? I sometimes have this image of a turtle, right? And the turtle, if it senses risk, it just pulls everything in under the shell, right? It's like, just contract, restrict, hide, protect that neck, that soft neck back inside the hard shell, right? Don't put your neck out. So, how do we create that safety within that we can stick our neck out? Well, it comes to a practice, really, of daily, frequent, positive self talk. It looks like waking up in the morning and reminding yourself of all the ways that you are abundantly worthy, super smart, already capable, completely enough. And we're not just talking about being your own hype man and just saying things that maybe you don't believe. We're talking about finding evidence for how that actually is true, how you actually are already all those things. So literally, I have a journal that I use, and I'll admit I don't do it every day, but the idea is it's positive affirmations about myself every day. Like, look at all of these things that are already going so well. Look at all the things that I've created. Look at all the things I can be proud of. Look at all of the things that are working. Look at all the ways that the universe is leaning in my favor towards my ultimate satisfaction, happiness, safety, and abundant goodness. See the good. When you're in that spirit, when you're in that uplifted, optimistic spirit, when you're seeing the good, you're less likely to be looking at the things that scare you and be worried about risking. So you're bolstering your self-concept and your safety within literally by doing a practice every day that underscores all the ways in which you are loved. If you're religious, you can believe that there is a power beyond you that cares about you, that sees you and holds you, and that no matter what, there's nothing that you could do that would take anything away from your abundant worthiness and your deservingness to have all the good things. So that's the first step, finding safety within through positive self-talk that I actually put pen to paper so that I physically kind of have that process of writing it in, wiring it into my self-concept. So that's maybe one and two. Positive self-talk with a practice that helps you find safety within. The next thing would be creating boundaries so that you do feel safe. So if you felt nervous about the way in which you have risked before and you haven't felt cared for in that space, or you felt nervous, or you had that turtle shell experience of wanting to recoil in, one thing that you really want to learn how to form is boundaries to protect you so that you can take risks and know that you're asking for and requesting and protecting a certain boundary of how you're spoken to, how you're treated, what's okay, what's not okay, how much you're allowed to be delegated to when you say yes and no. Boundaries is a super big part of us going big and not holding back. Because if we don't have boundaries, we'll just feel overwhelmed, piled on. We'll feel like we're at the effect of or downstream of everyone else. And that you'll hold back just out of virtue of not having any bandwidth. You won't even be able to decide to make a big, bold move because you're so busy digging out because you've not had a healthy boundary. And everybody, uses or utilizes or leans on or leverages you. So boundaries are really, really important for us to develop so that we can feel like I could make a big, bold statement once I've created boundaries and I know what I'm a yes or a no to. I can I can actually feel like I can risk more. I can go outside of my shell more because I have consciously created space around me of what I am taking on and what I'm not taking on. Does that make sense? And then the last way that I can share with you tonight about how you can stop holding back, like a little micro step if you're wondering like what would this actually look like, is this technique that I use when I feel nervous about really risking or being exposed or saying a hard thing or not people pleasing, like saying no or asking somebody to behave differently around me, or um, saying something that I think might disappoint other people, or I'm afraid that I'm going to mess up, or I'm even worried that my comment in a meeting might be seen as, silly or, you know, um, unnecessary, like all of the fear. I developed this idea of being the narrator of my fear. And this just works for me. And I think some of my clients have felt it has worked for them too. So I'm going to share that. It's like, let's say you don't have the perfect words in the moment, and so you hold back. Right? Like something happens and you feel triggered or you feel offended or you feel over delegated to, or somebody makes a request and you hold back, like you kind of just you freeze up or shut up because you don't know what to say. Say I if that if anybody's experienced that before. I narrate. I say I'll just say it. I'll just say, let's say I'm in a meeting and I have a question that I'd like to ask, and I'm actually nervous asking this because I'm wondering if everybody already knows the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And that's me being the narrator to help me not hold back. It helps me kind of like bulldoze a little bit to create a little bit of safety for me to feel like I can say the thing by admitting or narrating what's going on. I try not to sell myself short, but you could say things like, if this has already been covered, somebody just let me know or I'll take this offline. But my question is, now I don't want to undercut me too bad and say like, am I just being stupid and maybe I'm dumb and I missed this before and I'm just totally being incompetent. Like, no, you don't totally sell yourself out, but you can share a little bit about your experience. And I'll raise this because this past week I was working with this team that's all like miserable, working in a dysfunctional dynamic with one teammate that is an absolute, like, they're emotionally impacting the team through their temper tantrums and their poorly managed anger and their outbursts, that the rest of the team is just kind of like stunned silent. And the rest of the team is miserable, and yet no one is saying anything to the toxic teammate. They're holding back because they're afraid of confrontation, they're afraid of blowback, they're afraid of poking the monster, they're afraid of being exposed, they're afraid of confrontation and conflict. But what if they were able to narrate a little bit of what they were thinking? What if they were able to say, there's something that I've been wanting to say for a while to this toxic teammate, and honestly, I've held back this far because I'm nervous about how you'll receive it. But today I felt like I was going to be brave and state the behaviors that I'm seeing that I'd like to request to change or that I have a boundary towards, so that so that I'm not holding back anymore for something that I think is important to me, important to you, and important for the whole team. That's narrating. I'm nervous to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hi, Regret, right? Like she's talking about this particular, I posted about this and a few people have commented, seeing how ineffective it is for us to hold back. Sometimes because we're so afraid, but then we're actually colluding with the really negative behavior. We're complicit with it because we're not creating a boundary or saying that's not okay. We're allowing it. So I recognize that this can make you feel really nervous. It feels very much like risky and exposing and vulnerable. But would narrating your experience of even being bold help you be bold? Are you following me? It's almost like when you're about to give a public presentation and you're really nervous. And you can even say that, like, I was very nervous thinking about coming up and speaking in front of all of you today. So I hope that you'll be generous with me as I stumble in and try to find my words. And here goes. Like, I find it's a very winning way to not try to hold yourself so tightly put together and try to be perfect and just be present. And maybe that's the summary that I'll give you. Rather than trying to be perfect, and not willing to um, make a bold move unless you've figured out how to do it perfectly, which we never do, and therefore we keep holding back. Just be present. Just be authentic in the present moment and say the thing. Say the thing that needs to be said. Even though I'm afraid of messing up, even though I'm afraid of hurting your feelings, even though I'm afraid that this might not go down well, even if I'm afraid that it's already been said, even if I'm afraid of public speaking, even if I'm afraid of confrontation and humiliation and all the things, I am going to step forward because I know it's the right thing to do. And I know that on the other side, we're all just going to find more truth, more relief, more shared experience. And when you do that, I think you'll find both two things will happen. One is it's not going to be as scary as you thought it was. And the second is you're going to be pretty darn proud of yourself for stopping holding back. It's a huge accomplishment to see yourself act in a new way, realize you didn't die from doing it, and to give yourself some grace and praise for trying something new. It's how we actually start to form a new self-concept. So I'll leave you with, don't try to be perfect. Don't wait to do the thing. Don't hold back because you think you need it to be perfect or better or more right or you need to figure it out. You'll spend forever doing that. Just be present in the moment and speak authentically about what you're experiencing and what you see. It is empowering. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're left with some doubt about how that could actually look for you, like how you personally in your situation would stop holding back, if you're not clear why you hold back or you feel like you need support or help or coaching or like a consult or some wisdom or best practice of how to be bolder, how to go out, how to be more vulnerable and have your own back, it can be a process more than maybe just a 20-minute training that you listen to. And that's what I'm here to do. That's what I do is I coach women through these processes. When their ego comes up and says, oh, I could never do that, or when their fears speak up and say, I'm deathly afraid of that, or I'm resistant to that, we work through it so that we can slowly open up ourselves towards the types of being that we want to be so that we feel more fulfilled, more on target, more aligned with our values, and living a more happy, joyful, fun, free, self validated life. So, if this has resonated for you and you would like a free consult, after I'm done, I'm going to post a link in the comments below for how you can reach me. We can talk about your specific situation, what the solution might be from where you are now to where you want to be, and if I can help you. That's what I have for you tonight, ladies. Until I meet again, go well.